Good afternoon. This is Harold Zawatsky. I'm the chairman of the Fairfield Board of Assessment Appeals. Today is Monday, May 3rd. The time is 6:04 p.m. and I'm calling this meeting to order. This meeting is for the deliberation and voting upon appeals properly brought before the board. So I'm happy to announce that we have 5 appeals that we have not deliberated or voted on yet. So I think that they are all Alexis's appeals. So
Yes.
I will give the floor to Alexis to announce her appeals.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot one step. Apologize. Kathy, could you please do a roll call for us?
Sure. Good evening. Paulette Kuzel.
Here.
Kathleen Griffin.
Kathleen, we didn't hear you. Can't
Still
hear.
don't hear you.
All right.
Okay.
She's here.
Yep. Speaker, not the mute. Sorry. Okay.
Okay. Alexis Harrison.
Here.
Peter Rupert. Peter is not present. Harold Zawatsky.
Here.
Ronique Patel.
Here.
John Spoilier.
Here.
Judy Zablack.
Here.
Catherine Giff.
Here.
That completes the roll call.
Thank you very much, Kathy. So now, Alexis, I apologize. The floor over to you. Sorry for that delay.
No problem. Am I the, this is Alexa speaking. Are these the last 5 appeals?
These are the last 5 appeals that we have not brought forward to deliberate on as yet.
Okay.
Wow.
Congratulations. Okay, so we will go to number 602. That's 2300. Just want to make sure I have the right one. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Wrong Chris Russo appeal. Bear with me, guys. Sorry, I had this all set up before. Oh, it is there. Okay, sorry, it is 602. Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to bring the town's value from $978,600,000 to the appellant's opinion of fair market value, which is $675,000 even. Yeah, I'd like
This is Ronique. I'll second that.
Great, thank you. so
Ronique
much.
seconds. Thank you, Ronique.
This is Alexis speaking again. This is the address is 2300 Fairfield Beach Road. You can see in the picture, it's a relatively very, small cottage here on the beach or across the street from the beach, it looks like. It's not on the water. Very modest. It's 672 square feet. And the town has valued it at just under $1 million, which is kind of crazy to me. So I'd love to hear from the assessor, just more on why this property is so much, given the living area is only 672 square feet. That seems just really kind of out of balance there.
Ross, are you there?
Yep. I was just unmuting. It's mostly in the land. The house is has a very small portion of the overall value, and the value is all in the land.
Yeah. From what the
I do see that this one does have a 0.95 condition on it, which more typically we see 0.90.
So how does that impact the house?
It adds 5% more to the land value than some of the others that we've seen.
Okay.
I'm just checking to see if.
Well, this is Harold. While you're checking, I do have a question. I see that there are some comps in the file. but it appears that many of them, if not all of them, are on the beach side. And I think the appellant is stating that the square footage calculations are lower than his, but as we know, size of the land does make a difference in the square foot price. And I don't see any comps that were presented on the creek side where this house is, but I did notice, and I didn't really look for sales, to be honest, but if I look at 2280, which is next door to this home, it's also a similar size lot, maybe not exactly, but 2280, similar sized lot. And the land value there is reasonably close to what the subject property's land value is. The 675 that he's asking for looks like he wants to go back to the purchase price that he had of the entire property, land and dwelling, back in 2017. Now, granted, it doesn't look like much of a house, and the footprint of the house is only about 822 square feet. But even with tear down value, if he was going to build a house, a two-story house that could be in excess of 1,700 square feet, that would be buildable and allowable on this land because he has the footprint.
Yeah, but
Yeah, this is Russ. Just to clarify on the condition, when I first looked at this, I thought this was a creekside only lot. This is actually one of the lots at the end of the peninsula that goes from the beach to the creek, and as one lot. So it's right there at the I think it's the second to last lot on the peninsula. And it 9.95 is actually consistent with those lots at the end of the peninsula.
But the house actually sits on the opposite side of the street?
Yes, all the houses on the end of the peninsula from 2206 on sit on the creek side.
Ross,
with
could you
nobody
please,
from them on the beach side.
could you bring up the map, please?
Oh, sure.
Kathleen, I see your hand up.
Sure. So again, I don't know what Mr. Russo's argument was. It's probably the square footage one that's in his backup. But if you were talking about a sale, it looks like 2218 Fairfield Beach Road sold in August of 2020 for $1.2 million. It also looks like an FB7 row house. So it's probably, the lot's bigger. It's an 8,000 square foot lot, and the house is 1,400 square foot, but it looks, from the curb, it looks similar to the subject property. So that might be a good, if you're looking for a comp, that might be a good comp to look at.
2280. Well, that looks like a much nicer home than, I'm looking on it on Realtor. It's a much nicer home. For what
we only have.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
This is Rajiv. We only have the dwelling at 34,000 anyways. It's mostly the land that's the comparison.
Right. And then just going back, Harold, to what you were saying, you were referencing 2280 Fairfield Beach Road.
Yes.
But again, that's a much bigger home, right?
It is a bigger home. It's a two-story house. The subject house is just one story, but the footprint is there to build a bigger house. And as Ronique pointed out, the value is not in the house. The value is in the land and the location of the land, and the fact that it does have a footprint that would allow a house to be built on it that would be 2 stories and in excess of 1,700 square feet. So, and comparing the land value to the 2280, okay, which does have a bigger footprint already, as you can see from the photo, but the land value for that lot is comparable to the subject property. And
Right.
even if,
very
look
small
at-
lot to me. I don't know how.
I don't, this is Paulette, I have a question.
Yes,
So that's considered waterfront, even though the house sits across the street, you have to cross a road to get to it. You don't just step out and walk onto the sand at the water. Doesn't make sense. That doesn't seem right to me. And how could it be the same value as somebody who gets up in the morning, opens the door, walks out onto the sand and walks to the water?
well, that's the last house on that road. And if you look at the other 4, 5, 6 houses that stretch before that, and look at the land value of each of those, while they're all considered waterfront, first of all, because there's no house in front of them. But if you look at the land value of those, for him to ask for 675, when the land value of all those properties of similar size are over $900,000, just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It seems to be, it certainly shouldn't be what it was in 2017. But I don't think it should be almost $1 million for such a small cottage that really isn't waterfront.
And it
It's
needs a
been made.
complete redo.
What was that address again, Harold? What was that address you mentioned again?
2280.
Is that a qualified sale?
Now, like I said, I wasn't looking at sales. I was just looking at land value. Since he was comparing his land value with beachside properties at based on square footage, I was just following the same procedure.
I
This is Kathleen.
thought like throughout most of this that we weren't talking about what other people's land or property were assessed at, when it goes back and forth. So why is it okay for this guy?
No, it's not okay. That's why I'm discounting his calculations and his comps.
Yeah,
I thought you were
2218. This is
saying
Kathleen.
that because of that this one should be where the town had it valued at. That's what I took that conversation to mean.
No, I'm saying all the houses along there, for example, if you look at the property at 2268 Fairfield Beach Road, that has 7,500 square feet, that's valued at $952,700 for the land. I can't find a property along that stretch where the land value is under $900,000 is what I'm saying.
So Kathleen, you were saying 2218 was another one that would be comparable, because I'm looking at that right now.
This
And
is Kathleen. That was I called up from August of 2020. I just want to point out something else too. The road at that point, once you get past the square parking lot, is a private road. And I think the subject property is one from the very end. So it's kind of a road, but not really, because he's only got one property beyond him. And that's the large one that we did on the point a night before. And that is a multi-million-dollar home on the end. So he does have the advantage of being, have the least number of cars driving in front of his house. So, it isn't the normal Fairfield Beach Road, right? They have a private sign once you get to that large parking lot on the lower southeast corner of the GIS there. So, while he does have to cross the road, he's only crossing like a driveway to get to the beach, right? The only road he's crossing is, the only person with road access is the person at the end that ever goes, in front of his house. So, but yes, 2218.
I have a quick question. I don't know who can answer this, but is traffic usually part of when we appraise a house? Or assess a house? Is that taken into consideration?
well, that would be the land, I believe. I mean, I know we've given
But
in
Kathleen was
previous
just talking about
cases.
traffic.
Yeah, so this is Kathleen. We give condition factors on people's property if they're on busy roads, right? We did a bunch of those that were on North Benson, and we do, we do look at whether it's a busy road or a quiet road, or if there's a traffic light and the traffic backs up in front of their home.
Right.
We've been so I would say, yes, busy, if you're on the road or, North Benson versus being on a very quiet dead end street, I think it affects the value of your home, and we also do take that into consideration, the busy ones, by giving them condition factors for that. So, I mean,
This
you
is-
know, other people disagree with it, but I think
Good
that's what the assessor does that, and we've done that as a board.
Yes, Paulette, you have a
Yes,
question?
it's Paulette. Yeah, I was going to say that I agree that it is private and it does make it nicer and quieter. However, it doesn't sit on the beach. So I have a serious problem with accepting something as beachfront when it isn't. And also, it's a private road. Now, they're responsible for the maintenance of that road. So that should be taken account because the town doesn't provide them with services there if it's private. So if that's the case, then their land value should be less because they have to maintain their own road.
So, Kathleen, you said that this is a private road. Where does the private
It is a
road
private road.
start? Do we know what address the private road begins at?
Ross has got this is Kathleen. Ross has almost got that hand on it. See that large square parking lot there, just to the right of his hand? That right there is that's where the turnaround is. So if you go down Fairfield Beach Road, there's a gate or something to the private end of the road, and it says, you know, for residents and guests only, do not enter. And so everybody turns around that way, keeps the road. So, and these lots are FB7, so they are not as, you know, the land isn't as valuable as the FB8s that are, you know, Prime Beach, or the FB1s that are down by Penfield. So there is some consideration, you know, for them being way out there with the FB7 code, but they do get beach access and creek access. So they do have both of those benefits with those lots. You know, they can have a dock if they want.
What do they,
Condition factor, it's Judy. How come the condition factor is more than the others?
This is Harold. I don't know if they are. You'd have to look at each of those, but Kathleen is right. There is a white picket fence there. It's chained off, and there's a sign that says private road. So all of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 properties are all on that private road. And again, I can't find any that are lower than $900,000 for their land.
this is Paulette, but Harold, let's remember, that doesn't mean it's right. It just means that that's the way it's done. It doesn't
Well,
make it
then
right.
it would be wrong for 12 houses.
I wouldn't doubt it, because anything's possible. But
Okay,
what
well,
about,
and-
and again though, what about the fact that the road is private? All those houses are on a private road. They're all assessed or appraised that way, but that doesn't make it right because nobody took into account the road.
well, I would say that the owners took it into account when they purchased these properties.
Yes, but the town should be taking it into account because they're not providing services that other taxpayers and other residents on Fairfield Beach Road are receiving.
Well, if it was me, I mean, I've lived on private roads in the past, and I enjoyed that. But if it was me, I'd get my 12 or so neighbors together and see if they could change that. And then they would probably have to take down that signage.
They would probably.
Yeah, but that's not how it is right now. And you know what, even though you might like that private road, personally, I wouldn't. And not
Well,
everybody does like a private road. Yeah, he bought it, but that's the way
Judy,
it is. It's-
For Judy, they like the private road. That's why they put up the fence and the sign. It's not this one homeowner that put up private road. Everyone on that stretch is enjoying the fact that that's a private road. Okay? Any reason to take this down to 675 when no other property on that stretch of private road is anywhere close to that?
No, I don't think so. But what about a different number? Because I think that coding them the way you code a property at the waterfront, the way it's where it really is on the waterfront, is wrong. Now, I don't pay attention to the code. So what is the code for that side of the street right before you get there? Is it the same, or is it one of those WP things or whatever else you do there?
It's a 7. It's a Fairfield Beach 7. So
All the way down that side of the street?
It's Paulette,
Kathleen,
it's,
so-
I don't know.
Once you get the-
I didn't see a different code, so maybe you want to ask.
there is a different code. I mean, it's that turnaround, right,
Yes.
Paulette?
Yeah.
That's still an FB7, according to what you refer to as the bingo map.
Yep.
Okay, so the FB7s start at 2026 to 2300, and then odd numbers as well, 2041 to 2197.
So 20, they start, so on the creek
So
side,
the
it starts
lowest,
at,
so the lowest one that you got there is 2026.
2026.
Actually, yeah, 2026, but that's on the beach side
2026 is on the creek side.
or creek
It's an
side,
even
yeah.
number. Okay, so that would be, let's
But they
see.
do have odd numbers there on the beach before you
Yeah.
get to the hook
Yep. Okay, so let's see.
that
here.
are in FB7.
I hear
So I mean, it's not just like those 12 houses on the private road. There are several that are on the beach side. I'd probably say a dozen and a half or so
Okay,
that are also in FB7.
so I'm looking at the creek side now, okay? And I'm trying to find where 2026 is. Because that's too far up, okay? Because I'm looking, when I look at, oh, I got to 1900, so 2026. So when I look there, those houses don't have, there's other houses across the street. Now, maybe they own both of those lots, I don't know, but it's not like they have a beautiful water view like they at the end does. So then what made them put this in that code?
This is Veronique. I'm under the impression that this house has both ocean and creek because there's no other property in front of it, right? So, I mean, it seems
Right.
like they do have oceanfront almost.
Well, they have property there, but they don't live on the beach side. They live on the creek side, so they're really not oceanfront technically.
But there's no house on the beach side, right? So,
So,
they
yeah,
have
but-
all of that.
But they're not walking out into the beach when they open up their back door, Bernie.
Right, like everybody else is.
Well, excuse me, but when you, Paulette, when you say technically, how do you determine technically that they don't enjoy beachfront in their property?
Well, to me, when I say something is beachfront, when I'm describing something as beachfront, I'm saying that the house sits on the beach side. So they're on the sand or whatever. The sand is in front of their back door and they go right out there and there they are. They don't cross the street. They just walk out the door and there's the ocean or the sound's right there. In this house, you've got to walk across the street and go to the other piece of the property. The house
Yeah,
doesn't sit
but
on
it's
the
a private-
beachfront.
Correct, but it's a
But there's no
private road. They own that portion of the road. And I would think that they enjoy that road because it allows them to drive in there. Now, maybe years ago, there was just sand, there wasn't a road, or it was a dirt road or what have you. But now it's a paved road that the homeowners there own.
Honestly,
Yeah,
this
but-
is not an oceanfront home, or this is not a sound view home, and paying and assessing it under $1 million is really ludicrous. Who's ever going to pay that much money for it? No one ever will. It's
But
not.
your front yard is basically the beach.
How do you know?
After
John?
the
I've never
street.
been there. Have you been there?
After
Okay,
the
if
You
street.
can see on the map.
Yeah, but we've never been there. I don't know.
I've rented houses that were across the street from the beach like that. And I've rented houses that I open the door and I walk out onto the beach. It costs me more money to be in the one that I just walk out the door and go on the beach than the one from across the street. Whether or not they own that property or actually, it doesn't matter. I pay less there than I do when I get the one that opens right up to the sand and the water. Because it's not really beachfront.
Okay.
They have, yes, they have property there, but it's just not beachfront. The house isn't.
So
The
Paulette,
land is.
you asked the question, Paulette, you asked the question that maybe it should be a different number because you'd also disagree with the 675 price. That's what I heard. So, I mean, all the discussion aside, does somebody want to make an amendment? Yes, Judy.
Yeah, I was just looking online to see if there was any kind of sale that we can look at. And I did notice 2206 Fairfield Beach Road. It has that same kind of lot, just about the same size. It closed in 2019 with a big house on it of 1.8, and it closed at 1.8. So let's even say that right now we can add value from the date that it closed to 10/1/2020. And even if we said it would go on up $2 million with that house on it to 2 million, that other one, I mean, time adjusted, 2 million. Here's what Paulette and I know, and what we have stated over and over and over again when it comes to a tear down. What, does anybody remember what that value is for the land?
I'm
For when it's a tear
I'm not
down?
claiming, this is
One
how, I'm
third.
not claiming it's a tear down.
No, but you're saying that the land has value. The land only has value as a tear down, so you can build something else. So if that's the case, and the property isn't worth that much, the house itself is not worth that much, the value is mostly in the land. So if we look at that prior sale that has the property and the improvement, meaning the building, and we look at it in 1/8 and time adjusted to even 2 million and take that adjustment. Paula, would you like to state what the adjustment is? I know we talked about it.
It's 1/3.
It's 1/3.
1/3.
Even if it went to 2, the 1/3 adjustment is actually just about where they are. But I mean, even if 1/3 of 2 million, even if you said it was 2/1, even if it went up to 2/1, if you time adjusted it to that, the property is still could only be worth $700,000. And that's a really good comp because it's got the same thing. All we just did is time adjusted it. That's all I did. And that's appropriate. You know what? The appraisers do it. And we've seen that on all these appraisals all the time. It's time adjusted. That's one of the things that everybody keeps bringing up. So time adjust this at 1/8 is similar property. Time adjusted even to 2/1. You come out with 700,000 every day of the week for the property.
I mean, you can make these guessing games all you want, but there's one fact that I see, and that is on this stretch, there's no property that's less than $900,000. There's
And
nothing.
they could all be incorrect.
Nothing around $700,000 either. So I'm just going to hang on to that. That's my argument for not approving this value of $675,000. Again, if somebody wants to make an adjustment or not adjustment, but amendment to a different number for us to vote on, please go ahead. Otherwise, I'm going to call a vote.
This is Paulette. I think Judy's right, but we're not going to convince people of that because people don't think that way. They believe that, like Harold, that because they're all the same price, that makes it right. It doesn't. So let's say that property is worth 700. All right, we're not going to go for that. So I would make a motion to change the grant in part, I guess I would say. I'd go with, I'd even go as high as 825 or 850 because it's not worth 9 something. And I'd try to go somewhere in the middle, even though it's more than that 1/3 that I think it should be. I want to do something for this person because it's just too much money. It's just not worth it.
Well, I think 825 is too high for this, but I'll
I do
second
too,
that.
but I'm just trying. I agree.
I'll second it. Yeah, I'll second it for the purposes of helping the taxpayer, which is what we're supposed to be doing. And doing right by the taxpayer. We have this information right in front of us. That's 2206 Fairfield Beach Road. That's the one, time adjusted. And at that price, at 800, that would mean that you could build a 2-4 house on it.
Right.
Right.
And
It
I
doesn't have waterfront. It doesn't have, you have to walk across the street to get to see the water.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Not the same. It shouldn't be the same value as somebody who just walks out of their house and they're on the beach. It's just not right.
Exactly. So I'm with that.
Kathleen,
This
you
is
have your hand up?
Yes, please. I'm just going to say I'm not going to support this because of the 1.2 million sale. It's not the 2206. It's the neighbor 2 doors down that sold for 1.2, and the houses are very similar. The lots are very similar. So I won't be
I
supporting
thought that
the
house was
amendment.
bigger.
The house is bigger, but the lot is very similar. So the house, there's no value in the home. The value is primarily in the land. While you were talking, I looked at listing for 2218 Fairfield Beach Road. I read how they describe it, that you have the beach across the street, nice private road. This one is even nicer because it's further down the road and it's sold for $1.2 million. So I just can't support, you know, anything less than $1.2 million. So I think that there should probably, my opinion, they are okay where they are. But that.
Why am I not seeing that? 2218?
2218? And that
What's the
sold
name?
that sold in 2019?
It sold in August of 2020, 1
Okay.
month before the reval. 2 doors
And it
down.
wasn't on the
It's a-
MLS.
It's listed as a qualified sale.
It wasn't on the MLS.
Oh.
Okay,
I
I
mean,
don't know.
it sold-
Okay, hold on a sec. Now I gotta look at it. No, just hold on.
This is Harold. I believe that Peter is joining us,
Okay.
but I see 2 call-ins. Well, maybe one of those are you, Kathleen, already. So I see another call-in on user 8. And I
That's
see
me, Rob.
call-in user
Yeah.
6. Perhaps.
Yep, I just joined, Harold.
But that is Peter. Okay, we have 9 members now. Peter has joined at 6:35. All right, you're looking at a property, I believe. This is Harold speaking.
Right. No, all right, so. Yeah, this guy just bought this to rent it out. That's really what he did. That's what I see. Yeah, I'm not, even though I see that sale, I'm not convinced that first of all, it wasn't on the MLS. All he does is rent it. It's not on the MLS. He rents it for the season or for the month. Summer furnished or winter furnished. Yeah, he does it seasonally. So I don't know whether he was looking for an investment and to dump his money, and that's why he did it, but it wasn't on the MLS. And when it's not on the MLS, I actually wonder whether it really is an arm's length transaction. But sometimes you can't assume that it is. For all the times that you see qualified transaction on the field card or unqualified transaction on a field card, and we tell you that it was qualified, it's got to go the other way around as well. So I'm not looking at that comp as that number as an actual comp. I'm looking at the other one that we talked about, that prior sale. And that tells me an awful lot about the value. So I'm still with that, Paulette. We had that 850. Didn't you make that motion for 850 and I seconded it?
Yep.
All right. Did we vote on that?
Nope.
Okay, then I will call a vote. All those in favor of the amendment to reduce the value to $850,000, raise your hand. I have 3 in favor. 3 in favor. Opposed? Raise your hand. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, wait a minute. 6. Well, Peter can't vote on this though, right? Who's the one that just came in? That would make 9, right?
Yeah.
Peter, did you hear enough to vote?
No, I did not. I did not vote.
Okay, so it's 3 in favor, 5 opposed. Any abstentions?
This is Kathleen. Harold, can you read off who was in favor, please?
Well, let me.
I think we already know.
Peter, are you abstaining or removing yourself from voting?
I'm not going to abstain. I didn't hear enough to even do that.
Okay, it's 3 in favor. That's Alexis, Paulette, and Judy, and 5 opposed. Harold, Kathleen, Ronnie, Catherine, and John opposed. Motion is not carried. The appeal is not granted. And,
Well, wait a minute, that was just
Judy,
the,
I'm
no,
just
no,
gonna-
that was just the amendment, Harold. That was
Yeah,
not the actual
okay.
appeal.
right. So I would like to say, Judy, I don't understand why you want to discount that sale, because I don't know why you think that if you're assuming that somebody bought it for a rental, why that should make a difference on the sale price.
And I don't think it was an arm's length transaction. I don't think it was let's see, not arm's length, but I don't think it was a qualified transaction.
Well, we have a sale.
Let's follow up.
They bought it for a price within the period. I think that holds more weight than calculating what a third of a entire 2 million plus house is valued at. So now I think I'd like to call a vote on the original motion. All those in favor of granting this appeal to the requested value or to the amended value of $850,000, please raise your hand.
This is Kathleen. No, Harold, it was the original amount because the amendment failed. So it would be
Oh.
whatever the appellant.
75.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that correction. All those in favor of granting this appeal to the requested value of $675,000, please raise your hand.
I'll go for that.
Paulette, what was your hand?
Yes, my hand's up.
Okay, 3 in favor, opposed, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 opposed. Alexis, Judy, and Paulette in favor, and 5 opposed. The motion is not, it fails, and the appeal is not granted. Thank you.
Harold, can I just say something? Just to comment on what you were saying, just to clarify rather. The reason that Judy discounts that sale and the reason that I do is because that 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, that's not our opinion. That is an industry standard. The fact that somebody paid $1.2 million and we don't know why, because it wasn't, we don't know if the sale's qualified or not, if he bought it for investment, which it looks like, they're buying something in a different way than the normal buyer is. And remember that when people buy things like that, they don't look at how much the land is and how much the building is. They just look at the whole thing. Okay, I'll buy it. I need to dump money somewhere and then use it as a
So-
rental. So even though it's
I-
a sale, it kind of skews, and that happens all the time places. We don't know how many of those really occur. But that 1/3, 1/3, that's the industry standard. That's not our idea. I just wanted to make that clear.
So with that argument, the property that sold for $1.2 million, the land should be worth $400,000?
Well, if you're gonna, well, that house is, see, again, that's a
That's
different
a
house.
different
You
purchase.
can live in
That's
that
a
house.
different
That's,
type of purchase,
you know,
right?
that's a full-size house. That's different than a cottage that's really not beachfront, nor is this one. But, you know,
So.
And the other thing, no, the other thing about that, which we haven't discussed, and then I'll be quiet, okay?
Okay,
The other thing is, for example, I believe that guy was just an investor because he's only renting it out. He rents it out in the summer, he rents it out in the winter. That's very obvious. I can see the records, okay? For example, I have an investor, and you know what they do? Sometimes they buy property just so they can have a loss. Just so they can have a loss for the year, and they need to spend money, they spend extra money. I'm not convinced that that was a qualified sale, even though it's not marked as such. That's it. I'm really not convinced of that.
okay. Alexis, would you like to bring up your next?
Yeah, sure.
You're down to 4.
Okay, I will go to number 392. That's
which one, Alexis? Like,
392,
thank you.
1711 Fairfield Beach Road.
92.
So I'd like to make a motion to bring the value down from the town's value of 2.546 million down to the appellant's opinion of fair market value, which is 2.1 million.
This is Veronique. I'll second that. Are you also going to look at 391 with that too, or no?
I thought I would do them separately. Does someone else have a recommendation on how I approach this? He presented
do it
them
your way.
separately.
If he presented them separately, do them separately.
Okay. So he brought, and there's a little worksheet, handwritten worksheet at the bottom of the file that you can see. And he had two other properties that he had me look at, which was 1727 Fairfield Beach Road, 1721. Obviously, they're all on the same side. They're all on the sound side of Fairfield Beach Road. And, you know, and maybe some of the realtors can help me here, but I didn't find them to be comparable. I mean, his house is 3.7 square feet, while the other two, 1721 is 2.6 square feet. The other house is 1.9 square feet. And, you know, based on that assessment, I felt his number was pretty fair. He's got a very large home. It's very, you know, quite nice. I don't see any reason to bring it down, but would love to hear input from other people.
Kathleen?
This is Kathleen. I did want to point out, I looked at this one earlier, and he also, it appears that he has an accessory dwelling unit on the main property, not on the beach property. Listed as a garage, but if you look at the picture on the field card, or if you look at it on Google Earth, it's a very nice garage with a loft on top of it. So, and
Are you referencing 391?
No, the subject property. We're just looking at the subject property to support his price, and not that he would come down, because he does have, looks like a second, I don't know if he mentioned this in his hearing, but it looks like there's,
No,
Ross
he didn't
wants to
mention
bring
the
it up on
accessory dwelling in the hearing.
I don't know if it's that. We have it coded as a garage, but it certainly is a very nice, from the curb, it's certainly a very nice looking 2.5-story garage with some beautiful windows. I saw it when I walked by it down there as well. And I checked, and he did get a variance to have a second home on his property. So even though we have it coded as a garage, it may well be an accessory dwelling unit, in which case it would have rental income and a variety of other
It's not
benefits to it as well.
There's no kitchen or bath in there.
I don't know if we know that. Yeah,
Well, then
all
if
I'm
we
saying is
don't-
he got it.
Well,
Yeah, we don't know. That's right, because he didn't let the assessors off. I looked at the card. It looked like he refused entry in the past. All I'm saying is he has a variance to have a second home on the property, and that's a valuable thing to have. So whether he has,
Yep.
Who would
You
do
know,
that? The building department or when?
I don't, it's coded as what Ross can clarify, but I think it's coded as a garage with a loft, and we have it valued at, if you look at the field card, I think it's valued at what, 144,000?
144. I see it, 144. But you can't assume that he has anything other in there than than just a loft. There's no bath, there's no kitchen. There's
It could
no
be an office,
This is
for all we know. I mean, it could be anything.
This is Ronique. I doubt that it's just a garage. It even has a little front door right in front, and no garage for a 2-car garage is that big. I mean, look how big that property is compared to the actual garage itself. And it has a front door on the side. That is, and with all
It has a
those
side door.
windows, that is not just a 2-car garage.
That's not for us to assume. First of all, like the majority of garages have what we call a people door to get in and out. And there was another guy that had a garage, was on the creek side. Does everybody remember? And he had the upstairs, it was finished as a loft, but he had no plumbing or anything in there. Does anybody remember that?
I do.
You would thank you, Paulette. That guy had
You're welcome.
nothing there. You can't assume that this guy is renting that out or that's livable space. There is nothing on the field card that says kitchen or bath. You know, bringing plumbing into that would be incredibly expensive, and you'd have to get permits. There's just no ifs, no ands, no buts. I mean, electricity you have for the garage, but plumbing, no. You cannot assume that there's any bathroom or any kitchen in there, and it could be rented out as living space. Cannot assume that.
I mean, this is Ronique. I mean, it could also be an in-law suite, right? But I haven't seen garages with
There's
a
no
front
plumbing.
door.
You can't have an in-law suite. There's no plumbing.
You can't have
I think-
plumbing
Are we
in
going to
a
go
in a
outside?
detached
You're going to put
dwelling.
an outhouse out there or what?
This is Kathleen.
Harold, you don't know that there's no plumbing?
Well, you don't know that there is.
You don't know there is
There's no
either.
evidence that there
Well,
is. So you
let's leave it
cannot
as
assume that it is
unknown.
that.
Let's leave it as unknown.
Right,
This
so
is-
you have to, and if it's unknown, you have to err on if you have to feel that way. Err on the side of caution where it's not there because he did not represent that it was living area, it's not on the field card. And I have to tell you, it'd be incredibly expensive to bring the plumbing in there to do that. That's not how it is. That's not how
I
it's
don't-
working.
And I don't believe they're allowed to have plumbing, kitchens or bathrooms in a detached structure. You certainly can't do it in
Jim
other
Went
areas.
told
that
us,
are-
right? Is that what Jim Went told us?
Pardon?
This is,
That's what
Jim
Jim
Went
Went
told
said.
us a few weeks ago.
you most certainly can have plumbing, air conditioning in a detached home on your property. You most certainly can. It can be grandfathered in, or as we will, as we have seen, it can be provided in a variance. It can be allowed by P and Z to a variance.
But it's not done.
Kathleen, it-
We don't
Yes,
have
we have
that
a variance.
information. It is not here. There's no.
Chairman, can I speak?
But
yes,
let's
it is.
not
If
assume
look
that you can't. Let's not assume that you can't. Yes, Alexis?
Yes. Are we meeting tomorrow night?
Yes.
Okay, great. Then I will withdraw this motion, try to get more information from whoever the appropriate person is at town hall. We can figure out what's going on with the garage and this ADU. So I will withdraw this motion until tomorrow.
I'm good with that.
That way we don't have to guess, we can just figure it out.
No, but this is Kathleen. He does have a variance, and that you can see in the land records. He got a variance for 2 dwellings, whether he actually built another dwelling or the variance said that when he does it, he has to connect both of them to the sewer when sewer comes on the street. In the early 90s, he got permission to have a second home. So whether he built that second home or he just built a fancy garage, we don't know, but he has the ability to build it, even if he didn't. So that, not everybody can get a variance for an accessory dwelling after 1997, but he got it earlier than that. Because I quickly looked at the deed because I thought, so anyway, I'm just saying,
Alexis, Alexis,
that's
will you
gonna
call him and ask him if he's got plumbing there?
I will.
Submit something for the record that either he has plumbing or he doesn't or whatever, can get some kind of a statement from him.
Yeah. Great. All right. Thank you for the discussion, everybody. So then, I think with that said, maybe I'll table 392 as well.
Okay.
Okay. And then Kathleen, can you just remind me where we left off with the Ganem properties? I know we did several last week.
Yeah, this is Kathleen. I don't think we did. I don't think we even discussed either one of these. I don't have it as a no action or anything. I just have nothing, so I don't think we talked about him at all. We talked about other Ganems, but not the 1027 or the 949. Those other ones were Lighthouse Point, and these are further
So those
down
are the 2
Fairfield Beach
remaining
Road.
Ganem properties, right?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. These are brand new. Yeah, these are different ones.
Okay. I don't think I have an updated chart. Okay. So 1027.
Yeah,
And
and 940.
10.5.
Yeah, no,
Right. Thank you. Yep. Thank you. All right. Then we will go to appeal number 651. And again, that the address there is 949 to 953 Fairfield Beach Road. And I'd like to make a motion to bring down the town's value of 1.3 down to the appellant's opinion, a fair market value of $950,000.
This is Ronique. I'll second that.
Mr. Ganem didn't really bring much supplemental information to the hearing at all. He just said that, the reason for his appeal, as it's stated right here in this form, the subject property was purchased for around $700,000 on or about in January of 2004. And it's been hindered by a zoning law that prohibits alterations and variances. The house only has 1 bath and a bedroom of 8.9 feet each. He just feels like the valuation is over excessive in light of the market conditions. I don't really have much to offer outside of that information.
Is this a duplex or a multifamily home or
The
something?
multifamily, yep.
Okay. Thank you.
This is Ravneek. In his notes, he said he was going to provide comps before the hearing. Did he provide any comps like during the hearing at all, Alexis?
No, I said he didn't. No, he didn't.
He didn't. Okay.
We've got,
Thank you.
Yeah, but he didn't present those. He has the same two in every packet, and he
Oh,
didn't
okay.
present.
maybe one of them was right.
Does anyone need any more time?
Yeah, just need like a minute. Hang on. Sorry. Okay.
I
Sorry. go
really
ahead.
wish you would have brought more comparables.
Yeah, me too.
I really,
I'm surprised that he didn't.
I'm good.
Anyone need more time? All right, I'll call the vote. All those in favor of granting this appeal to the requested value, Ross, could you bring
Can you
up
hide the screen?
full screen of the members? Thank you.
There we go. Yep.
All those in favor of granting this appeal to the requested value, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. It's unanimous. This appeal is denied. The vote is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Opposed? Abstentions? No abstentions. So the vote is 0-8-0. This appeal does not carry. It is
Who didn't
denied.
vote? Because we have all 9 members here. 1, 2.
Would be
It's
0,
9.
Oh.
It's unanimous.
Okay.
It's 9, yes. I'm sorry. Okay, last one for the evening.
Great. Again, this is number 650. The address is 1027 Fairfield Beach Road. I'd like to make a motion to bring down the value from the town's value of 1.37 million down to the appellant's opinion of fair market value of 1 million.
This is Ravneek. I'll second
second
that.
that. Judy,
We'll take Judy's second.
thank you, Heather.
Again, Mr. Ganem didn't really bring forth much, comparables in the area. He just said the reason for the appeal, which you can read here, is that the property is pretty narrow. He said it's 25 feet wide, has limited parking, and lacks a garage. The 3-story 2-family home next door has also significantly affected value, and he feels that the value is over excessive in light of market conditions. Actually, he did note a property located at 1289 Fairfield Beach Road was listed at 1.2 million on February 9th, 2021. And he believes 1027 has diminishing factors as compared to that property. But that's all he brought forth. So if you want to look at 1289, you can definitely do that.
I have a comment to make on that. And the properties are originally listed at 1.4, on the market for 63 days at the date of that. Let me just see whether it closed or not. But the fact of the matter is, just because it was listed at one price doesn't mean it's sold at that price. It could have sold 200,000 below, could have sold 200,000 above. I'm just gonna, let me see if I can see anything for a closing on that. But really, it's in February. I'm gonna have a little bit of a problem with it anyway. I'm just to help them. I'll see what I can find out anyway. Let's see.
Kathleen, Judy, it's actually on, you're talking about 1289 Fairfield Beach Road.
Yeah.
On the card, for the card for 1289 says that it closed on March 22nd, 2021 for $1,170,000.
Yep, I see that. I see that. 1,170,000.
Cornerstone Investment purchased the property.
And this is John, while it looks like it, it may be only 20, the lot or the house may be 25 feet wide. It's got almost 2,500 feet of square living space right there on it, according to the card.
Just hold on a second.
That was
please.
a,
There's something I want to check, okay?
wait a minute, this says it was an inter-corporate sale, so that would make it a non-qualified, it's an unqualified sale, right?
Which one?
1289? It sold for 1170 in March of 2021? Is that what we're looking at?
What is it, Cornerstone Investments? Funny you bring that up, Paulette, because right now I'm searching the LLC to see who owns it. Cornerstone Investment?
Yeah, Cornerstone Investment Management LLC.
Try it.
Yeah, this is Kathleen. The field,
Here it goes, Cornerstone Investments LLC. Let's see, who is that? I see somebody I see Simsbury and Amston, Connecticut. I never even heard of Amston, Connecticut.
neither.
Gary Beckham. No, just one other thing. Let me check it. Because that's the person that's behind Cornerstone Investment.
I feel like, Judy, you're like in a Scooby-Doo thing where you pull the mask off the culprit after you catch him and be like, you're not really the ghost.
Oh my God. I don't know. Is that a compliment or not?
I think
No,
that's a
it is.
compliment, Judy.
Okay. All right. What did I say his name was? We're going to look at two things. I'm just going to see whether, what I'm doing for everybody's edification, I am looking to see whether this guy is just like a big investor. I'm thinking that this may not be a qualified sale.
It's
either.
not. It says right on it, intercorporate sale. That would not consider,
Okay.
I don't think that'd be considered qualified.
Oh, so it was this. Oh, all right. Let me check this. Fairfield Shore LLC, right? Wait a minute. Is that the one? Should I be checking that?
That's
Let's
the
see.
Who's the
Ganem.
previous owner of that intercorporate sale? Let me see if I can find that. Can somebody look at the field card and tell me who the prior owner was? And that's
So wait, are you looking for Fairfield Shore?
Is that it's Fairfield Shore, right?
That's the what we've got on the table right now that's being appealed. And the
Right.
prior owner of that was Paul Ganem. So So Paul bought it in 2008 for 1.1 million. Okay. And then it was an unqualified sale at the end of 2009.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. So let me tell you what, it's an intercorporate sale. The manager's title was Paul Ganem Manager. FYI. The agent, yeah, okay. So that's like a family to family. Or they just switch something around from one corporation to another.
Yeah.
Fairfield Shore LLC, manager is Paul J. Ganem, manager. Agent name is Roseanne, which is, I think is Roseanne Ganem.
That's a sister.
Even though it says Gallant, right? Gallant. The agent business address I have is something that we recognize. I'm not going to state that for the record, but I do see that I see everything, addresses that I recognize. So corporate. I'm not quite sure. I mean, it's family to family. That's all. I'm discounting that. But I really wish that he would have brought some really good comps here, because I'd like to help everybody that comes, but you have to give us something to work with.
Does anybody need more time? Then I'd like to call the vote. All those in favor of granting this appeal to the requested amount, please raise your hand. All those opposed, please raise your hand. It's unanimous. The vote is 0-9-0. Thank you, Alexis.
Thank you, Alexis.
Thank you.
I came tonight because I wanted to hear the final appeals, and I wanted to be part of the last appeal. So if we're done with the appeals, I'm going to see you tomorrow night, and we'll finish the rest of them. How's that?
Well, this is Harold. I'd like to ask if we could do something about the appeals 391 and 392 this evening. Is there any information that we can feel comfortable with to determine whether or not that value is correct?
391, which one was that?
Well, this is the Chata land 391, 392 that we said that we were going to take no action on until we find out more about the second building on the main property.
Oh, we can't take any action until that. That would not be fair to the homeowner.
No, well, I'm
Taxpayer.
just
I don't see that as being fair to the taxpayer at all, because you guys are assuming that it's finished, and you can't assume that it's finished up there.
We're, Judy, excuse me, we're not finished. I'm just asking, is there anything that we can do tonight? And maybe the answer is no, okay? So please excuse me for pointing this out, but I'm just asking an open question. Is there anything we can do with these two properties tonight to get them out of the way? If nobody believes that there is, then we will hold it in abeyance until somebody checks with zoning or whatever the right department is to look at that. But also, I don't know that both properties, since it was mentioned that they should be looked at separately, if we need to take no action on both. We still have the option, if we wish, to take a look at the Creekside property. And Kathleen, you had your hand up, and then Alexis has her hand up.
I guess what I'm going to say is that the town does not assume that they have an accessory dwelling unit there that's valued as a garage with a loft. So that's the first thought. So as a board, we can decide, even if we assume it's not an accessory dwelling, are we still comfortable with the appeal? And if the sense of the body is that, no, we're going to deny it anyway, then do we really need to postpone it? If we feel, assuming it's not, if we still feel the appeal is not worthy, if there's people who think it might be, you know, on its own, whether that's going to make a difference or not in the value, then maybe we do, you know, that's all I'm saying is if, you know, I think Alexis's original thought was perhaps, you know, he didn't have a case even not knowing that it was an accessory dwelling. If that's the case, then maybe we all feel that way. I don't know.
Well, there's enough Democrats on the board to show off the Republicans. Okay, it doesn't matter what we think because there's more of you on the board.
Judy, please. Alexis had her hand up. I was going to call on her after Kathleen. Alexis, please.
I think when, you know, I think out of respect, I think we've all done this for each other over these past several weeks when we've deliberated, is that when someone seeks more information, we usually honor that. And I think we can wait 24 hours. We're all meeting tomorrow anyway. I don't see the big issue here. What's another 24 hours? We've waited 8 weeks to do this.
That's fine.
I think out of respect to all of us, that's what we've done.
Yep, that's
Yeah,
fine.
I agree.
Okay, I was just posing a
24
question
hours.
to the board. Ronique, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I've heard this comment a couple of times, like Democrats versus Republicans, and I just want to say, like, every single time I vote, it's not based on my party. It's based on the relevant information and looking at what's in front of us. And I make those judgments accordingly. It's not because it's majority of Democrat or majority of Republican. It's just I genuinely listen to everyone's input. So I honestly just don't think it's a party disagreement. It's mostly about the property itself. It is about the property itself.
This is Harold. I would say that everyone is in agreement that we're going to hold these two properties in abeyance for more information tomorrow. However, I would also like to point out, it's another example where we latch on to some point of information where someone has mentioned maybe this is a qualified dwelling with a bathroom and a kitchen, all that, and maybe it doesn't. And we argue so much on that point that takes us away from the main topic of the valuation of this property as a whole, which includes the main property and the Creekside property. But be that as it may, we will go down the road of further investigating the dwelling and finding out what it has in it, and use that information to make our decision and determination. That's fine, okay? So I don't think we need to discuss those two properties any further. What are we going to do with the rest of our evening? Kathleen?
So we also have the recommended by assessor changes on the agenda for tonight. And Ross sent out the spreadsheet. I forwarded it all to you. I also uploaded it to the website. But I don't know if it's easier for you guys to open your emails and pull it out, but it looks like it has 3 tabs on it. And Ross can speak, we'll let Ross speak to what's in it once you all have it opened. And then we can discuss it and vote on it. So,
All right.
it looks like Judy.
This is Harold. I'd like to suggest we take a 10-minute break to give everyone a chance to look over the spreadsheet that was just sent out. And I'd like to suggest that we, since this was prepared by the assessor, that the assessor give us an introduction to what the changes recommended by the assessor means, and ask him to take us through the 3 spreadsheets one at a time. Is that acceptable to everyone? Yes. So
Yeah.
let's take a 10-minute. Ross, is that okay with you too?
Fine with me.
All right. So let's take a 10-minute break, and we'll get together again at 7:20. 7:20 promptly. Give you time to look over the 3 tabs, check your email, and then we'll ask Ross to step us through it so we understand what we're voting on. Thank you.
So Kathleen? Oops, lost her.
I'm here. Yes, Ross?
Can you
hear
check
me?
appeal? Yeah, can you check appeal 603 and tell me what day that was decided on?
603? Yeah, hold on.
All right. See you all at 7:20.
23, you're talking about 2308 Fairfield? Ross?
Yeah, 2308 Fairfield Beach Road.
I have it that it was denied on April 27th.
The recording has started.
This is Harold Zawatsky. It is now 7:27 p.m. and we are continuing with our meeting today, Monday, May 3rd. And again, the time is 7:27 p.m. And Ross, could you please take us through the changes recommended by the assessor? Thank you.
Yeah, this is Ross. So let's start with the motor vehicle tab. It's the 3rd tab, and there's just one item there. And this is a car that had previously been reduced by the BAA, and we're just asking to reduce that back down.
So this is Harold. When we see the parens around a number, that's the value that it has been changed to. Is that correct?
No, for this one, the 19 GL assessment was 5,410. The BAA reduced it to 700, and we're asking to go back down to that 700 for this year.
Yes, 700.
So the reduction is $4,710.
All right. So the change in parens shows the negative reduction on the assessed value. Okay. Thank you.
Do you want to do these individually?
Just the charts.
Right. So you want to vote on the motor vehicle, then we'll move to personal property?
Yes. I'm sorry. Yes, Kathleen?
You want me to make a motion? That's probably the easiest thing, right? We'll start with a motion.
Yes.
And we probably should have done it before that. Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve the motor vehicle recommended by assessor changes to the values recommended.
Mr. Spallett, I have a question. This is for when? Because aren't we doing the motor vehicles in September?
This is a previous assessment.
Okay, so now we're
This
going
is
to
Ross. I can explain that. Motor vehicles can be brought at either BAA session. They're most typically brought in the September session. The difference, the September session is only for motor vehicles.
Okay.
Right?
So this guy came now, so that means he won't be back in September. Is that right?
That's correct.
So his previous value was $700, yes?
The 700 is what the BAA reduced it to last year.
Last year. So this year it went up. So now we want to reduce it back to what it was. Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
Well, why is it the same as it was last year if it depreciated in another year?
We're using the BAA reduced value.
Well, that was a year ago. That was in 2020, right?
Right.
For the 19 grand list.
Okay. So
Anybody know what makes this car special to drop it down again to 700?
well, it's certainly gone up.
Yeah,
I'm going to look
assuming,
up and see what I can.
yeah, because I mean, ideally what I'm assuming is that the override came off. Paulette,
Well,
that,
with a motor vehicle, we don't override them. They're revalued every year. So being that it's a 1972, it's not in our normal books that tend to be a bit more accurate. Once you get into the older cars, there's a lot less transactions of them. And it's actually, they call it the classic and collectible book. So it probably got valued as a car that's being, held as a special interest vehicle.
So we're changing this back to what it was. He didn't come and appeal his appeal, right? Or did he ask you to put it back?
He has not come in. We are bringing this to the board because we saw that it had a BAA reduction last year. And if, presumably if we don't reduce it, he'll be back in.
He should be back in anyway because it shouldn't be the same as it was last year. But as long as he has the right to do that in September, and this stop him from doing that, then I'm fine.
He does.
Okay, that's fine.
So I'd like to call a vote unless we need more time. All those in favor of granting or approving, I should say, the changes recommended by the assessor for the motor vehicle, please raise your hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's unanimous. 8 in favor, no opposed. The change is approved. Thank you.
Okay.
Next,
Well, I'll let somebody make a motion if they so desire on the personal property.
Kathleen,
Sure. So this is Kathleen. I'll make a motion to approve the personal property recommended by assessor Kathy, whatever he said the last time, recommended changes.
this is Harold, I'll second.
Okay, so these, in this case, we're looking at just making sure we have all reductions. You can see the notes on here. There's various reasons why we're asking for these. We had some late filings. We had a couple of exemptions that needed to get put back on.
Looks like
Couple of them moved to a different
1074.
town.
Looks like 1074 Harbor Road is an increase.
I don't think it was previously assessed.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I missed that one.
And also 122 Alvin Street.
Right, those, I take that back. There are two increases. Those were they filed their declaration late, and when we got the declaration, it was increased over what we had entered it as. Any other questions on these?
Yeah, this is Veronique. I don't think 1074 Harbor Road was ever appraised in 2020. It doesn't seem that way, was it?
No, it was not. So this is actually
So that's
an
why
add.
it's showing an increase. Yeah, so it's not really an increase, it's just a value.
Anyone else?
Sorry, go ahead.
I just have a question. So the numbers that the assessor is recommending, were those what he came up with, or is that what the appellates were looking for?
It's what the declaration indicated from the appellant, or from the individual.
All right, that's good.
Kathleen?
This is Kathleen. Ross, so then these ones where most of them are going down, some of them are going up. So do we need to give them 7 days to have a hearing and vote if with the increases?
Yes, the two on the increase, we'll have to send a notice to them and offer them a hearing date within 7 days.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, it looks like, it also looks like 280 Post Road was an increase, also late filing.
Okay, I just sorted it, so. Yeah, those three were late filings.
Okay. Any further comment? So I'd like to call a vote to approve the changes recommended by the assessor for the personal property appeals. All those in favor, please raise your hand. It's unanimous. The vote is 8-0-0. No abstentions, none opposed. The approval is granted. Okay. Next one is for real estate recommended by assessor. I'll make a motion to approve the changes recommended by the assessor. Is there a second? Peter seconds. Ross, can you take us through the?
Sure, we'll talk about there's half dozen that are going up. I can give you details on each one of these if you like, on how they were found, but typically it's either the owner coming in or they're pulling a permit for work that was done, in most cases years ago. Typically that happens when they go to sell the property and they have to pull a permit for instance, a finished basement that was never permitted. So I'll break it up into that group and then we'll talk about the decreases. So any questions on the increases?
How do you come up with your value?
We use the 2020 revaluation model and we change how the home is listed, and that's how the value is generated. So it would be consistent with other homes with similar features.
So Ross, just for my understanding here, if I take that first row that we have on Melody Lane, it's going up almost 11,000. The owner corrected the number of bathrooms, so based on adding like a half bath or whatever, that would go into the new formula, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And so a half bath gets valued at close to $11,000, or is there more to it than that?
Well, this is Harold. Do we know it's a half bath or a full bath?
I don't know if it's a half or a bath or full. I'm assuming it's a half just because of the amount, but.
Well, it's the correct number of bedrooms. Those
Or
are
bedrooms.
bedrooms.
Sorry, bedrooms.
Right.
But it could also be, but the number isn't just a standard number per bedroom, right? Because then the condition factor would take it down some. Or not.
Right. It may not be the same number on every property. And this was a condominium.
So these things could have been done a while ago, but you're just finding out about them now.
It depends on which one you're referring to. The one that John was talking about, the owner called and asked us to correct the bedroom count.
Okay.
So that's what we did. Some of these, I believe the add finished basement at 55 Perry Street. Let me just pull that up and I can give you a little more detail on that. 12,390. Right, this work was completed. Let me look at the permit. Well, this was a more recent permit for a media room and laundry in the basement. And it was completed as of 10/1/20, but we did not have that entered in time for the grand list.
So all of these people, some of them, not all of them, some of them are going to get their appraisals. And if they're not happy, they have no recourse because we're done. Is that right?
No, we send them a letter, and within 7 days they can ask for a hearing. And if they ask for a hearing, they'll be heard, and then you can act on that information.
Okay. And you know,
Any further comments or questions regarding the real
Yeah.
estate recommendations? Yes, Paulette?
more. Yeah, so this is a pretty big list. So when does this like compiled over the year, or does this all come up at once? Like, when did these all get to you?
My staff all enters anything that they would like considered in the spreadsheets once after the grand list is signed up until when you guys complete your duties.
And the grand list is signed when?
Right at the end, usually at the end of January.
Well, that gets signed at the end of January, and then but they don't get a notice until now?
Well, the only one that can change it after the grand list is signed is the Board of Appeals.
Mm-hmm. I guess I'm just curious as to if this is done at the end of January and now we're into May, because it took us longer than usual, but they don't know that because it hasn't been voted on yet, so they don't know that this is going to happen, right?
I'd have to check with my people to see how they found out about each one of these, but typically these are coming, from the owner. But it's possible that they don't know. That is true.
Okay.
So all those, I'd like to call a vote. Kathleen, you have a
No,
question?
Harold?
Yes. Yeah, I just wanted to point out, so my property is on this list because I did ask at the informal hearing to have my card correct, someone to come and measure and check out different things on my card that were wrong. So they came from Ross's office, came in March, measured, my addition and my porch and changed a few things. So I'm going to abstain for that reason because my home is on the list. And they corrected it.
Okay, thank you. Kathleen? Any further comments? Anybody need more time? John?
Yeah, I notice on here like there's the Brooklawn Country Club has 2 rows on it. For a substantial amount of money, but I thought we already made those card corrections when we passed when we voted on it.
This is Harold.
Right,
We did we didn't do the Brooklawn, we did the Patterson Club.
Gotcha. Okay, my bad.
right. So we talked about this when we did the Patterson Club, that you would be seeing the Brooklawn on here.
Okay, got it.
And we didn't talk about in particular, the decreases. So if you have any questions on any of the other decreases, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay. Any further comments or questions? Anybody need more time? Then I'll call a vote. All those in favor of granting or approving, I should say, the assessor's recommended changes, please raise your hand. All those in favor of approving? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Opposed? Please raise your hand. 1 opposed. Abstentions? 1 abstention. The motion is carried to approve the assessor's changes. The vote is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. 1 opposed and 1 abstention. Paulette opposed and Kathleen abstaining. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Kathleen. I just have one more question for Ross. So Ross, had we turned all of these down, would you have put them through next year automatically? Like, how does that work for these card corrections? Do you normally put them in the 20? In other words, we're only approving this for the 2020 grand list and you would put them in 2021 per usual? Is that how it works?
Yeah, typically we would just make the change for the coming grand list. But if we have the opportunity like we do now with the board still being active, we'll see if we can get the changes through for 20 as well. But yeah, normally these types of things will happen for the following year.
Thank you. So it does benefit all of the people that received the reductions that were recommended by the assessor. Thank you, Ross. So now returning to Alexis, I would like to find out if you're able to find out any information about that appeal number 603.
Yeah, I don't think that one was done. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
I don't think that appeal, Harold, was not done.
It was not done.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then that was a good catch. So would you like to bring
Yeah, I
that?
can do it tomorrow night with my other 2 appeals. I have to look at it. It's been a while since I've done it.
All right. So we are taking no action on that appeal until tomorrow. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay, not a problem. So we have 3 appeals to finish tomorrow. And then also to reconsider any appeals that anyone would like to bring to the attention of the board for reconsideration and voting again. So if anybody has, again, as was
I had a
mentioned in the
question
email
about that.
I'm sorry?
So can you just walk us through that process of revisiting appeals that have already been decided on? Like, how is that done? Do we have to vote to bring them back to the table? I'm just not, I don't know much about that process. Maybe you could explain
Yes.
it to us.
Be happy to do that. It was indicated in the email that was sent out, but
But I don't know if the public saw it because the public is listening in, so maybe we can.
certainly. It is posted on our website as well. Is that correct, Kathleen? Or maybe not, but I will ask, nonetheless, I'll ask Kathleen to step through the process by which we can reconsider appeals that were previously heard and voted upon. Yes. Kathleen, could you help us out with that?
Sure. So the process, if you, since we had 650, or not because we had 650. So if you have appeals that you feel that you, that were done a disservice, or you gained more information after we made the decision, or subsequent appeals, we realized we were not consistent and you would like to bring those back to the table for reconsideration, the process is someone will make a motion to do so, but in order to make the motion, you have to have been in the majority of the vote. So if it, say it was a 5, or say it was a 2-3 denial, and you feel strongly that you want to come back because you voted in favor of it, you need to find somebody who is in the majority in the denial to make the motion and bring it back to the table. So who's ever in the majority can bring it back, and then anybody can second it. So for that same example, if you were in the majority and you found a person to bring yours back, you could then, that person would second it. That brings it back to the table, and then we reconsider the appeal again. And because our appeals, it's sort of like one agenda for us. I know you can, and normally boards will do it in one meeting, but because our meeting has gone on for, I don't know, 2.5 months, that's the process, for us is at this point. And I know Harold felt strongly, and I kind of agreed that for that process, it would be important for everybody to be in attendance so that we got the true, so that the whole board was there for that. So that's the process, that the town attorney said is appropriate for bringing things back for reconsideration.
I have a question.
Who's speaking?
Paulette,
Oh, Paulette, yes.
2 questions. So a tie, if it was a tie, technically it fails. So it's denied rather. So that means that those can be looked at again as well.
Yes, it would have, Harold, it would have to be brought back by a member of the vote that won the vote. And
Now let me
since a
sorry,
tie fails, it would have to be one of the members of the tie that led to the
The
winning,
descending vote, correct?
the deciding vote, yes.
the descending vote. Okay.
The descending
So now,
vote.
Ultimate
I know-
vote.
Right.
So then let me just ask this. So the rule is, I understand the rule, somebody from the party that technically won has to bring it forward. Whose rule is that? Is that a Robert's Rules crazy thing, or is that the board's thing?
Well, this is, Harold, I'm speaking for the board, and the board is following Robert's rules. And we did check with the town attorney, and he concurred that this is the proper procedure for us to follow, and he did not suggest another.
So if I went to Robert's Rules, I would find that in there, or is that just his interpretation of something? Is that an actual rule?
This is Harold. It's not an interpretation. As I stated, it was checked with the town attorney, and he said this is the procedure that you are to follow.
Offense, but I found his decision questionable.
I think that if you want to find that in the Robert's Rules, I think you can certainly look, or wish call the town attorney, or check the website to determine whether that is in fact a rule in a stated rule. Yes, Alexis?
Will you be circulating a list of all the appeals that were denied or the tie votes?
Say again, I'm sorry.
Will you be circulating a list of all the votes that were denied or tied? So we can reference that?
Yes, I believe that was sent out. Kathleen, could you confirm?
Yeah, this is Kathleen. The master list, if the one that I send out every night with, it has the tab 2 has what we're deliberating on tonight. or recommended deliberations, but the main sheet, the master sheet, has all 650 appeals on it with all of the decisions, except for the 3 we made tonight and the one by mistake, Alexis, the one that I thought we had done, the 2308 Fairfield Beach Road. That's marked on the list I sent you as, I think I marked it as denied, but that in fact has not been decided. So we'll have 3, but that master, and I'll correct it after tonight so I can send it again. But that list has all 650 decisions on the list. You have to go to the minutes to find out vote was, right? But I'm happy to help you. If you say this is the one I want to bring back, can you help me figure out who voted how or which set of minutes? You have to go online, look at the minutes. But I also have a lot of the decisions. You know, they're in the, I think we've only got 2 sets of minutes that aren't posted yet. So I can get those from a spreadsheet from Kathy or from Prue.
Sean, you had your hand up?
That's okay, I'll pass. Sorry. I had a thought, but I'm going to keep it to myself.
Okay.
So.
So we do have our work cut out for us tomorrow. We are starting at 7:30, unless we can get everyone together earlier. And we have an hour and a half to hear the 3 appeals and also to bring up the ones that the board members wish to reconsider and hear those again. If it's voted to bring them back to the table, that is, and make decisions and vote on them. So I would suggest that everyone be as prepared as possible to cover the appeals that you wish to bring forward so that we can work as efficiently and as expeditiously as possible. Paulette, you had your hand up?
Yeah, you know, I get it that that's the rule. I'm going to go read it myself, but I really don't think it's fair because why shouldn't anybody be able to bring it up? Why is it somebody who voted you know, like if it's denied, if the majority was to deny it and I had more information that was important that I discovered and nobody wants to bring it up, it just stays denied. That's not fair. That's pretty biased if you ask me.
Well, Paulette, I would suggest if you feel strongly that way, you can contact someone who was on the majority vote, discuss it with them, and you might find a friendly, what should I say, ally to make the motion to bring it back to the table. And then you can second it, or whoever wishes to do that can second it. And then we would vote with the board to see if the board agrees to bring it back to the table. And if it's brought back to the table, then we will vote on it, just as we did on a previous property. That's the way we did it in the past. And I don't think you took exception with it then. So I'm questioning why you wish to take exception to it now.
Because I guess I didn't really understand. I thought all we had to do was talk to somebody, like you said, find a friend, find somebody who's willing to bring it to the table. Okay. So let's say I picked you. You bring it to the table. I could second it. And then we have to vote to see if everybody's willing to hear it again. Or am I messing up?
That's the rule.
That's baloney. Because without saying anything about it, people just vote not to do it. Is that right?
Well, baloney is a luncheon meat, and we are debating valuations.
You know what I meant. I could have said something worse, but I was trying to be kind.
Well,
so
continue to be kind.
If you need, so even if you agree to bring it forward for me, and then I second it, everybody has to vote on whether or not they're going to let me continue to bring information. It's not just an automatic thing that we can just discuss it now. Is that what I'm understanding?
Kathleen?
Yeah, so I think this is the way I think maybe it should go, and it's good that we're having this discussion now, is that if someone knows they're going to make the motion to do that, and you have, you've got a second, and perhaps you just introduce it and say first, before you started, there's some new information about, I don't know, and the sale that we used as a comp was not a good sale, or they had all this extra stuff that I didn't know about, whatever it is. So the introduction, it doesn't have to be lengthy, but then at least introduce it that way before we make the motion. I think that that's appropriate given what we're trying to do with it. I also think that we all, respect each other, and that chances are we may bring it back to the table. Everybody may vote the same second time around, but I think if somebody has a good reason to bring it back, that we've all been listening to each other's reasons, and I don't see that that's going to happen. I'm not saying it's going to pass. That's everybody's individual vote, and that's why I think it's important that, or Harold does too, that there's 9 of us here, so that this one truly gets a hearing from everybody and not just the 5 who are on a particular night or something that happened. If we feel that we made a bad decision, and making 650 decisions, we made a lot,
Well,
so that's what I'm thinking. That's how.
Ronnie, let me just say, let's say, for example, Alexis was in a majority vote, and she was in a minority. Let me put it that way. Alexis was in a minority, and she calls John, who was in the majority, and says, John, I have this new information. I'd really like to, this is what I found out. This is why I would like to bring this back to the table. John, would you be willing to bring this to the table? And then I'll second it. And then we would have a discussion. What was the new information that was brought to the board for consideration? We hear that, and then we vote on whether that is adequate reason, if you will, to bring it back to the table. We vote whether we feel that there is adequate reason to bring it back to the table. We don't vote without considering the reasons why the person is bringing it, or why the person wants to bring it back to the table. We discuss that, and then we vote on whether we feel that the new information is sufficient to warrant another review of this of the entire appeal. So I think that needs to be understood also, that we are not automatically voting thumbs up, thumbs down, but we are hearing the reason why there should be a thumbs up, thumbs down.
And I guess I wasn't clear on that. I read a little bit of Robert's rules. I certainly don't know much about it, but what I thought I understood was that once a motion is made and it's seconded, it's heard.
No. We have always, whenever a motion has been made and it's seconded, we've always had discussion.
Well, yeah, well, we hear it. That's
Okay. Ranik, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead of you. You have your hand up.
No, I'm glad. Thank you for bringing that up because it provides some clarification. I also think there needs to be some, like, what those rules really mean is showing that there's some sort of balance, right? So if there was no way, or if there was no balance, then we could literally bring up every single appeal, like whether it was approved or denied, and we would just literally be running in circles on all 600 appeals. And so I think it's kind of nice that we do have a balance, like the majority has to bring it up, it has to be seconded. Otherwise, we would just be running in circles for all of these appeals.
I agree. I don't mind with the bringing it up and seconding. I'm fine with that. That's the way it should be. But if it gets, once it's seconded or whatever you say, then I thought it was just okay. And the person who wanted to bring it up will then present their information and there will be a vote. But what I'm hearing is we first have to vote to see if you're going to accept listening to it again by what the person says when they talk about when they just start to talk about it.
No,
it's my understanding that you have to have a conversation about it after it's seconded and then it gets voted on. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here.
We want to hear the reason why somebody wants to bring it back to the table, and we want to consider that if it's valid or not. So the concern that I have, quite honestly, is the amount of time that we have left for us tomorrow. There's an hour and a half. I believe that we have approximately 8 appeals that board members have brought to our attention that they want to reconsider. And maybe there are some additional ones that people will want to bring to our attention. before we begin this process tomorrow at 7:30. So I hope, seriously hope, that everyone has good reason and good preparation for bringing an appeal back to the table, whether it's for an additional reduction or to leave it the same. None of the appeals are going to, none of the reconsiderations are going to be looking, that we're going to discuss, are going to be looking to increase the town's value for the appeals. So we're doing this to see if we have gained some information as a result of several presentations that we've had, including from the P&Z, from the town attorney, from the engineering department, as well as the vision folks. And that information, plus what we have learned going through this process and how we've considered other properties during this process, that leads us to believe that some appeals should be reconsidered. So that's the reason why we have these 8. And that's the reason that we're going to look at them and consider them tomorrow evening. And hopefully with the completion of that, plus the 3 appeals that we have left, we will then be concluding this session, except, and I'll remind everyone that if there are folks that come back within the 7 days of their receiving a letter of changes that they are still feel that they are aggrieved, we may have to have another session to do the hearing and deliberations and voting on those that are brought back to our attention. Kathleen? You're muted. Mute.
Yeah, this is a question for Alexis if she's still there. Oh, this is just on timing. We were originally going to start at 7:30 because that's when we had everybody. That's the earliest that Peter could make it. But Alexis, if you're available a little earlier, I was expecting us to finish all the beach tonight, but we still have 3 left. So I believe we can get as quorum as early as you could be available. I don't know if that was
Yeah,
even
that probably won't be till
7:15.
yeah, probably 7:15 at the earliest.
Okay, so then why don't we say 7:15? You know, every 15 minutes is probably valuable. We'll start with her 3 appeals. Everybody okay with that? So we'll get those 3 finished. And again, if you can also do your homework on those 3, get your questions together, we can hopefully move quickly through those 3 and then move on to the, you know, the ones that people want to bring back.
So is that clear with everyone? 7:15 tomorrow? Is that what you said, Alexis?
I mean, I can try to be there at 7:15. I can't guarantee it. I have a day job like most people, so I'll do my best.
Okay, I understand. Well, that's what we have left on our table, so we certainly do hope that you can help us out with your availability as early as possible. Okay, anyone have any things that they want to cover in the time that's left to us tonight? Does anyone want to make a motion to adjourn? John has made.
I will.
Yes, go ahead, John.
No, I make the motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Ronika. Oh,
Ronnie, second. So thank you all for your participation this evening. We will gather again at 7:15 tomorrow. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
All right. Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye, folks.
See you tomorrow.
This meeting is adjourned. It's 8:08 p.m.